This afternoon we are going to discuss Maharahulovada Sutta, Sutta number 62 in Majjhima Nikaya. It begins with Buddha and Venerable Rahula going for their alms round in Savatthi. Buddha took his alms bowl and started walking, and Venerable Rahula also took his alms bowl and began to follow the Buddha's footsteps. This must be very, very beautiful, very touching moment. The father is going in front and the son is going behind, both with the alms bowl, and the son is following every step that Buddha took exactly the same way. He wants to imitate the Buddha walking behind him. Venerable Rahula, although he is the Buddha's Siddhartha Bodhisattva's son, he was never proud of that. But he was very, very obedient. Every morning it is said that he took a handful of sand and threw in there, saying, "Let me receive this much advices today." This much instructions today, as many as the sands in this handful of sands. And also Buddha, when he was appointing a chief of various skills, Buddha appointed him as the number one of those who are obedient. He was always looking for some advice. He was never proud. It is said that one day Buddha has made it a rule that Samaneras, the novices, should not spend the night with bhikkhus in the same room. So that one day a large number of bhikkhus visited the monastery, and every room, every kuti was taken. And Rahul, remembering this advice, this rule, didn't have a place to sleep. He went to Buddha's bathroom. He slept there. In the morning, Buddha went to the bathroom, and before he opened the door, even it was his own bathroom, Buddha also followed rules and regulations so meticulously. He first cleared his throat like this, just standing outside the door. Then he heard the similar clearing thought from inside. So he slowly opened the door, and Rahula was there. Buddha asked Rahula, "What did you do here?" Venerable said, "Last night I didn't find a place to sleep. I slept here." That kind of he respected Vinaya so much, and he respected the elders so much, that he said, "Dhamma Raja Mama Pita, Acharyo Sariputto Mama Acharyo." Dhamma Raja means the Buddha, king of Dhamma, is my father. Venerable Sariputta is my teacher. He has tremendous respect for all of them. Wonderful life. So, Buddha took his alms bowl and started going to the village to collect his alms food. And Rahul also took his alms bowl and followed the Buddha. Buddha turned around and saw Rahula following him, and he straightaway gave some instructions on meditation. This entire sutta is on meditation, thinking meditation, not quiet meditation, not simply focusing mind only on one object. Buddha said, looked back and addressed the Venerable Rahula thus: Rahula, any kind of material form whatever, whether past, future or present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near, all material form should be seen as it actually is with proper wisdom thus: this is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. What made the Buddha give him this advice? Because he began to admire Buddha's appearance. Going behind him, Buddha was so majestic, so shining, so bright, so handsome, beautiful, and he's a son of a king. And his son also began to admire his own appearance. Now I am his son. He is beautiful, I am also beautiful. He is majestic, I am his son, also majestic. And so forth. He began to compare his beauty, his handsomeness, his glory, his shining body and so forth with the Buddha. On the one hand, he must be very glad, may not be that proud, but very glad that he had the chance to follow the Buddha. And in his mind he began to think like that, naturally. Because he must have seen thousands of people coming and paying respect to the Buddha. And he thought, I am his son. So began to admire the Buddha's appearance. And Buddha saw this. Saw it in his mind. Buddha did not, say anything to embarrass him. He simply said, Rahula, material form, he gave the kind of material form, whether it's internal, external, far or near, past or present, and so forth. All material forms you must consider with wisdom, proper wisdom. This is not me, this is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. Then Rahula thought, only material form, Venerable Sir, Blessed One? Only material form? Sublime One? He asked this question. Is that all? Because he had in mind, what about the other four aggregates? Then the Buddha said, material form, Rahula, feeling, perceptions, formations and consciousness. Then he added the other four also. After receiving these instructions, Venerable Rahula thought, now he was going with the Buddha for collecting food. He thought, who wants to eat now? Who wants to go out collecting food? I received instruction from my own father, the Buddha, king of Dhamma. And this is very rare opportunity. People come from very far away places to listen to him, to receive instruction. Now I received instruction from his own mouth. Just walking behind him. So, never mind, I don't want to eat. I want to meditate. I want to practice what he asked me to do right now. He stopped going on alms round and found, he said to himself, who would go into the town for alms today when personally admonished by the Blessed One? So he turned back and sat down at the root of a tree, folding his legs crosswise, setting his body erect, and established mindfulness in front of him. This is the posture normally meditators should assume. This is the only posture that Buddha has recommended. Ujunkayam panidhaya parimukhan satyam upartapitva. Then Venerable Sariputta is another wonderful monk, saw him sitting there and addressed him thus. Now what is the Sariputta doing there? Venerable Sariputta, although he was one of the two chief disciples of the Buddha, Sariputta does not go on alms round with the Buddha. When Buddha goes with other bhikkhus on alms rounds, Sariputta stays behind and goes to see the kutis of other bhikkhus. If the kutis are not tidy up, he would tidy up the kutis. If there is no water, he brings water to wash their feet, to drink, for them to drink. And if the beds are not made, he would make their bed. If the floor is not clean, he would clean the floor, sweep the floor. And he did all these things, and then later he takes his alms bowl and goes to the village. Now, just imagine his humility. Such a great monk, so humble. Nobody asked him, nobody assigned him to do these duties. On his own, every day this is what he did when there was a large number of monks in the monastery. And then he took his alms bowl and he was walking, and he saw Rahula sitting under a tree. And without any hesitation, straight away Venerable Sariputta also gave him instruction. He did not know that the Buddha has asked him to practice meditation on the 5 aggregates. Venerable Sariputta straight away went to him and said, Rahula, develop mindfulness of breathing. When mindfulness of breathing is developed and cultivated, it is good. It is of great fruit and great benefit. Now, Buddha gave him one kind of meditation subject. Venerable Sariputta gave him another meditation subject. And Rahula did not tell him, Venerable Sir, I already got my meditation subject. I can do that. I can practice that. He did not say that, because he has tremendous respect for Venerable Sariputta as well. Then, in the evening, now Buddha returned and had his meals and so forth, and rested. So Rahula did not eat that day. He was fasting. Venerable Rahula went to see the Buddha and paid homage to him, and sat down at one side and asked this question: Venerable Sir, how is it mindfulness of breathing developed and cultivated, so that it is of great fruit and great benefit? Now, Buddha also did not ask him, why do you want to ask me about mindfulness of breathing? Didn't I tell you to meditate on 5 aggregates? You see? Their understanding is so great, and after all, meditating on mindfulness of breathing is not bad either. But he also did not ask, who asked you to practice mindfulness of breathing? Didn't I ask you to meditate on 5 aggregates? He did not ask this question. Then Buddha simply gave him instructions on how to use the elements first. 5 elements. This time he introduced another element, what is called Akasha Dhatu. Patavi Dhatu, Apo Dhatu, and so forth, and finally he introduced another Dhatu. And this is, again, I think you remember we discussed this in what? What sutta did we discuss this? Yeah?
Yeah, the Greater Discourse on the Elephants.
Yeah, we just finished it. Yes, Great Discourse on Elephant Footprint. We discussed that. That was Venerable Sariputta's explanation. Here, Buddha himself explained, said the same thing. You know, this is another thing we must remember. This is how the Buddha's dispensation has been brought down to this this time, because what the Buddha said and what the disciples said are the same. Disciples do not invent something new to contradict the Buddha. And when the disciple gives a sermon, Buddha approves it and sort of sign his signature to approve it. Like you see in Chula Vedalla Sutta, Bhikkhuni, Arahant Bhikkhuni Dhamma Dinna gave a sermon. When it was brought to the Buddha's attention, Buddha said, if I were to explain the Dhamma as she explained, I also would have explained the Dhamma exactly as she did. That means there is no any difference between the Buddha's teaching and his disciples' teaching. That is why we see in what we read in Maharahulovada Sutta and what the Buddha teaches here are the same. Hatyapadopma Sutta. Hatyapadopma Sutta is the sutta delivered by Venerable Sariputta. And here Buddha repeats almost the same thing, word for word. What is the internal earth element? The same 19 parts of the body. And when we meditate on these, we don't meditate them, we don't put them into one bundle, one bag. We must take one by one separately and spend as much time as possible on each of them until it becomes very clear in our mind. For example, you have hair on the head, you cannot see it, assuming that you take all the hair and put in front of you and look at it. It's just like that you got to have a good vision, good understanding of your hair. So, similarly, each part we take separately and focus our mind on it until it becomes very clear in our mind and know that it is a part of earth element, which is solid, hard, occupies space, and yet it is changing, impermanent. It is made up of the same object that is made up of outside. That means our inner earth elements are part of the earth, part of our inner body. Or every part is made up of the same 4 elements that we find outside: earth, air, water, fire. Now both the internal earth element and the external earth element are simply earth element, and that should be seen as it actually is with proper wisdom. This is not mine. This internal earth element, this bodily part, none of them is mine. This I am not. This is not myself. Only way to understand these 3 statements, we have to, to understand these 3 statements, the only way is to see whether they are permanent or impermanent, whether they obey our wish or not. We know that these parts don't obey our wish. For example, we like to keep our hair in a very beautiful way, very healthy, full of protein and attractive hair, young looking. What else? Healthy, long hair, and what else? Not turning grey, right? And not falling one of them. They all must remain exactly the same as when we were 20 years old, or even younger. Who doesn't wish that? Who doesn't like that? Huh? But does it remain like that? I tell you a story. This is a beautiful Jataka story. There was a king called Makadeva. I have told this many times, this story. Makadeva. And he has a barber. He told barber, whenever you saw a grey hair on my head, you tell me. So Baba was wondering why he wanted to know about this. So anyway, he came every day to shave his beard and trim his hair and so forth. Every day, and it passed many, many years. After many years, one day he saw one grey hair on the top of his head. Now, he was very hesitant to bring this out to king's attention, but order was there, he had to do it. And he, stepped back and paid respect to the king with folded palms, with great reverence, great fear and awe. He said, Your Majesty, today I saw one grey hair. What did the king do? He asked him, pull it out. Pull it out. This man thought, this king is so proud of his hair. He did not want to have one grey hair on his head. Now, from now on, I have to pull all his grey hair every day. One by one. And also he had to do it very carefully, because if he when he pulls it, if he hurt the king, he would punish him. So with all these procrastinations, he slowly pulled that hair out and put it on my palm. He stretched his palm. He put it on his palm and looked at it and said, "Okay, go and ask my chief viceroy and ministers to come. Call the parliament, call everybody." This Baba was really wondering what is he going to do. For one little grey hair, call the whole country. Anyway, he called all of them and everybody came. King said, I received a messenger from divine message. I received a divine message. Here is the divine message. He showed this here. And he said, it is time for me to give up this kingdom, my throne, my crown. I appoint my viceroy to be my successor. I am leaving. I am leaving this kingdom. I want to become an ascetic. Go and meditate. Because this is a divine message. It tells me I am no longer young. See, this is, Bodhisattva in samsaric life, that is how he practiced renunciation. Seeing one grey hair, he gave up his whole kingdom. It sounds very ridiculous to us, very silly. This is how wise people do. When they see it, they don't try to color it. They don't try to hide it. They want to accept it and say, this is actually what is happening to us. So he left. So, he did not detest it, he did not loathe it, he did not say it is ugly, dirty, and he did not resent it. He simply knew this is the nature, and he accepted it. And that is why he was able to speak like this after attaining enlightenment. He practiced that this is not mine. This I am not. This is not myself. If this awareness, this understanding, this knowledge, this wisdom did not come to Buddha in a split second, he cultivated his mind for so long in samsara. So he passed it on to his own son, and he passed it on to other monastics as well, lay people. When one sees it thus, as it actually is with proper wisdom, one becomes disenchanted with earth element and makes the mind dispassionate towards the earth element. Now, physical appearance is the representation of earth element. Physical body is color, shape, size, and so forth, are the representation of the earth element, and it is this shape, size, color that we attach to. And Buddha said, when one sees it exactly as it is, he becomes disenchanted. Nibbindati. As I mentioned, the word nibbindati, disenchantment, does not come as a disgust or disappointment. Normally even the word disenchantment these days is used for, not for something positive, isn't it? I am disenchanted with so and such and such, so and so forth. We use it in a negative sense. But in the Buddha's teaching, the word disenchantment we use to express our maturity, our depth of insight, our understanding. That is very positive. Because only when you see something exactly as it is, you are no longer clinging to it. When you do not understand it, you cling to it. When children watch TV, you know children have their special program, cartoon, Mickey Mouse, and what do you call, Wonder Man or whatever, I don't know what their programs are. I only have heard this Mickey Mouse. You know their programs. You are no longer interested in them. Some people interested? No? Maybe in order to encourage children, they will maybe sitting and maybe to pass time, probably. But I don't think many adults are interested in children's programs, children's TV programs. Why? They have more mature type of programs that they like. They like to see sometimes nature program. Sometimes they like to see something very exciting, war, something out of space things. Children are not interested in them. So, similarly, when we grow out of very simple things and mature, understand, then we are dispassionate or disenchanted with that. And therefore, whenever you come across this word, I emphasize this also many times, in so many ways, to eliminate this misunderstanding of this word, the negative attitude towards these words. And Buddha repeated the same thing about water element, and he gave the other remaining 12 parts of the water element. And even here he did not use the word, did not introduce the word brain into this. It is very much like in Greater Nikaya, in what do you call Kuddaka 31 elements are 31 parts of the body are mentioned. And with regard to the water element also, Buddha said the same thing. Then he went on to 5 elements, as exactly as we spoke about it in Maharahulovada Sutta. Then he spoke about air element in the same way, and then introduced space element. The space element may be either internal or external. What is the space, internal space element? Whatever internally belongs to oneself is spatial, and clung to, that is the holes of the ears, nostrils, the door of the mouth, and that aperture whereby what is eaten, drunk, consumed and tasted gets swallowed, and wherever it collects and whereby it is excreted from below, or whatever else internally belonging to oneself is spatial and clung to. This is called the internal space element. So, now this internal space element and external space elements are the same thing. And if one sees this with wisdom as it is, one will not become attached to it, becomes disenchanted, and so forth. And then Buddha continues saying, Rahula, develop meditation that is like the earth. This is very important part. This part we did not see in Maharahulovada Sutta. For when you develop meditation that is like the earth, aversion, agreeable and disagreeable contacts will not invade your mind and remain. So he gives a simile. Just as people throw clean things and dirty things, excrement, urine, spittles, pus, and blood on earth, and the earth is not repelled, humiliated, and disgusted because of that. So too, Rahula, develop meditation that is like the earth. For when you develop meditation that is like the earth, aversion, agreeable and disagreeable contact will not invade your mind and remain. And in Kakachupam Sutta, we heard the 4 kinds of speeches. True or false, pleasant or unpleasant, spoken timely or untimely, with meaning or without meaning. Somebody says something, or also something harsh or softly, with loving friendliness or without loving friendliness, without compassion or with compassion. Whatever word somebody utters, one should think that this is impermanent. This sound that comes from this person's talk is impermanent, unsatisfactory. It doesn't stick, it doesn't stay forever. And it belongs to earth element. So the person sees it with wisdom as impermanence, unsatisfactory and selfless. If one can develop the mind to see those things exactly as they are, like that, unpleasant feelings will not stay, and whatever unpleasant feeling is aversion, it passes away. And Buddha said again, Rahula, develop meditation that's like water. For when you develop meditation that's like water, aversion, agreeable and disagreeable contacts will not invade your mind and remain. Just as people wash clean things and dirty things, excrement, urine, spittle, pus and blood in water, and the water is not repelled, humiliated and disgusted because of that. Water remains water. You doesn't care, no matter what you wash. It does not say, no, don't wash any dirty things in me. You do something else with your dirty things, don't wash here. Water doesn't say that. And water is not repelled. So too, Rahula, develop meditation that is like water. And for when you develop meditation that's like water, aversion, agreeable and disagreeable contact will not invade your mind and remain. And same thing goes with the fire element. You can burn anything in the fire. Fire will not protest. Fire let you burn anything you want. Similarly, mind remains steady without reacting to whatever is happening. Similarly, meditate like air. As the air blows on clean things and dirty things, on excrement, urine, spittle, pus and blood. So, air also is not protesting against whatever is there. Then the last thing is, Rahula, develop meditation like space. So when you develop meditation that is like space, aversion, agreeable and disagreeable contents will not invade your mind and remain. Just as space is not established anywhere, space is not something that is sitting in one place, established in one place. It is just open for anything to put in. And then Buddha went on explaining, telling Venerable Rahula to practice meditation on 4 Brahmaviharas, or practice 4 Brahmaviharas. Why? Develop meditation on loving kindness. For when you develop meditation on loving kindness, any ill will be abandoned. Develop meditation on compassion. When you cultivate meditation on compassion, then any cruelty will be abandoned. So against cruelty, practice meditation on loving, compassion. Then meditate on altruistic joy. Altruistic joy or appreciative joy. When you meditate on appreciative joy, altruistic joy, any discontent will be abandoned. What is discontent? Discontent is arati. Arati kusalesu dhammesu. That is how we find it in commentaries. You have a discontent towards doing wholesome things. Wholesome, in practicing wholesome Dhamma, you are withdrawn, not happy. That type of mental state will be overcome by cultivating appreciative joy, because appreciative joy is elation, makes you delighted to do wholesome things. When you do wholesome things, you again becomes full of joy. Then meditate equanimity. When you meditate on equanimity, any aversion will be abandoned. Now, remember these 2 things. When we meditate on loving friendliness or metta, ill will be abandoned. When we meditate on equanimity, upekkha, aversion. Aversion is the beginning of ill will. First we have a little disappointment, disagreement, and then sort of dislike, and still it is not hatred. And when we have a disappointment, dislike, disagreement, if you do not take care of that, then it turns into aversion. When aversion arises, Buddha recommends to practice equanimity. If we do not take care of it at that time, aversion can turn into hatred. Then practice loving friendliness or metta, loving kindness. I always use the word loving friendliness for my own reasons. The reason is that I think I have mentioned it many times to our Bhavana residents and other people. Metta comes from the root mitta. Mitta means friend. In Pali, mitra in Sanskrit for friend. So mitta's nature is called metta, or mitra's nature is called maitri. For the compassion there is another word, that is karuna. Karuna, kindness, compassion are the same. So, if we use loving kindness, then we are repeating it again when we translate karuna. Because loving kindness and is kindness is there. Again karuna is kindness, so kindness repeats twice. But if you want to be very close to the Pali word, the meaning of metta should be friendliness. Friendliness. To make it more altruistic, we add loving friendliness. Even without loving, metta is perfectly clear when we use the term friendliness. When we practice friendliness, we are not superior to others. We are equal. We all are friends. And friends can relate to other friends. Friends can wish others to be happy. When I have a friend, I always think in very softly, gently, kindly about my friend. And that is the way of practicing metta. And then, when we are soft, gentle, then we have karuna, where our heart melts towards our friends first, before it melts towards other persons. So we start the practice with friendliness, and that is why it is called metta. It is direct translation of Pali word. Then Buddha advised Venerable Rahula, meditate on the perception of impermanence. No, meditation on the foulness. For when you develop meditation on foulness, any lust will be abandoned. And then he advised him to meditate on the perceptions of impermanence. When you develop meditation on the perceptions of impermanence, the conceit, I am, will abandon. How can that be abandoned? Because when we practice impermanence, you can see things are dissolving, dissolution, breaking up, disappearing. So there is no room for us to hold on to I. It fades away. And this, the conceit, I am so and so, I am such and such, will fade away. Then he asked him to practice mindfulness of breathing. That is the last thing he mentioned, and he did not reject Venerable Sariputta's suggestion. He came to it gradually. He guided Venerable Rahula through the way he started in the morning. In the morning he instructed him to meditate on the 5 aggregates, and then he gave this 4 Brahmaviharas and Asubha, Anicca, and then he came to mindfulness of breathing. Mindfulness of breathing seems to be very, very simple discourse, but that is an extremely subtle, also very powerful, and the practice that all the Buddhas practiced. To attain enlightenment, they practiced mindfulness of breathing. After attaining enlightenment, they practiced mindfulness of breathing until they passed away. That is the practice they did. Therefore, although it seems very simple, if you can read it, reading is very easy, memorizing is very easy, but understanding this is not that easy. Why is not? Why is that? Because mindfulness of breathing include all the 4 foundations of mindfulness. All the 4 foundations of mindfulness. Mindfulness of breathing is divided into primarily 4 groups, and each group is divided into 4 further groups, 4 further pairs, and therefore there are 16 pairs. 16 pairs. If you take each separately, there are 32 separate steps. And in Anguttara Nikaya, Buddha said, if a bhikkhu thinks that he can live long enough to take one of these 32, that means breath inhaling, if he lives as long as he finishes one inhaling, and he thinks, if I live long enough to take one inhaling, that is long enough for me to attain enlightenment. You can see how powerful it is. For such a person, there are 32 such moments to attain enlightenment. That is why I say it is subtle and very powerful, effective teaching. Unfortunately, we don't have time to explain it, but that is what Buddha advised Venerable Rahula to do, practice mindfulness of breathing. And there are 4 times that we can practice 7 factors of enlightenment. When we practice this mindfulness of breathing, the 4 stages, they are called tetrads. Tetrad number 1, 2, 3, 4. At the end of each of them, we can practice all the 7 factors of enlightenment. So mindfulness of breathing gives 4 chances, 4 opportunities to practice 7 factors of enlightenment. Practicing 7 factors of enlightenment is the way to attain full enlightenment. So when you look at the mindfulness of breathing in detail, you can see so many hidden Dhamma practice, meditation practice is given there. So I want to stop here now so that you will have time to prepare for tomorrow's class. Tomorrow will be, I try to cover 2 sutras. Today we took 2 days to cover 1 sutra. And that is why we are, lagging a little behind. And tomorrow I try to cover 2 sutras, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. And perhaps we may not have any time to read anymore.